Alright guys, welcome again to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be talking about how I studied for my USMLE exams. When I studied for this exam, I was heavily pregnant. So I'll take you through that journey. I'll tell you things that I did, things that I wish I did differently, things that helped a lot. I'll also talk about resources that I used. I'm going to attach the link to the resources below this video, so look out for that. So first, when I started preparing for USMLE exam, actually let's go back to when it all started. When I was about to finish term 5, I was like, so I'm going to finish term 5. I'll take 5 weeks or so to study. I'll take this exam before I have my baby. I had it all figured out. But believe me when I tell you, it didn't go that way. And that's okay. So for people who feel like they've been at this forever, it's okay. As long as you pass on your first try, it doesn't matter how long it takes you. And even if it's your second try, it's still not the end of the world. You can still make something out of it. So when I started preparing, I flew out of Baltimore to Chicago to attend the PASS program. I had heard about the PASS program. They said good things about it. So I said, I'm going to go try it and see. So that way it can help me get through the process faster. Since I'm pregnant, I can take the exam faster before I have my baby. I went to the PASS program. It was great. It was wonderful. Some things that really helped in the PASS program is the fact that they made us have drill partners. That was the most helpful thing throughout my study. I had a very wonderful drill partner. She was a medical doctor in Cameroon, and she came here. She was studying for her USMLE as well, and we met every evening to drill. We did questions sometimes, we drilled each other, and that was the most helpful part of my whole study. And just having that consistency of someone being there, drilling you. Sometimes she made me feel like I didn't know anything, and that helped a lot because I'll go back and actually study before we meet again. Another thing that the PASS program helped a lot with is how to tackle questions. Going into the PASS program, first day, Dr. Francis was like, you start from the bottom up. He gave a whole talk about how to tackle questions. In my mind, I was like, nah, I'm just going to stick to whatever question style I was using throughout terms 1 to 5, because that helped. I did really well in term 1 to 5. I was like, I'm going to stick to that. I don't need to change anything, you know. But I'm glad I was open-minded, because I ended up doing my questions the way he taught me. I'm not going to give his whole steps here, because that's his thing. If you are interested, go watch it. He has videos about it. But I started doing questions from bottom up. It streamlined a lot of things out. I was faster in doing my questions, so that helped a lot. One thing I wish I had done differently though is read my first aid before going to the PASS program. While in the PASS program, we were encouraged to keep first aid aside and focus on the PASS program material, which is good, but I feel like it's good for people who have already done first aid. I had not completed first aid. I'd just done a little bit here and there during my first 5 terms, so I was lacking in that first aid knowledge. So my thing is, my number one advice, take the time to read your first aid. When I did the exam, I felt like almost everything was from first aid, to be honest. It's those little fine lines in first aid that we don't pay attention to that were on there. So take the time to do first aid. What I tell my friends is divide it system-based. You can pick, let's say, cardio. If you take cardio, do cardio is a little heavy, so do cardio for 2 days. Make sure you finish reading it. When you read it, do some questions on just cardio and see how good you are at that point. The next 2 days, you can pick repro, depending on what your weaknesses are. I organized mine based on my weaknesses. So I started with repro. Repro is not my very strong point. I started with repro. When I finished repro, I think I went to cardio and then renal, but I made sure I covered every system in first aid, and this was super helpful for the exam. Really, do your first aid. Another thing that I did was USMLE guys. There's a guy on YouTube. He's called USMLE guys. He has drill sessions. I listened to his drill sessions every day while I was driving to the library. I had my baby at some point during the whole preparation process, because it didn't work out about having my baby before having my baby. Sorry, it didn't work out about doing my exam before having my baby. So I eventually had my baby. So I would leave the house every day, go to the library to study, and during my drive to the library, I would do those drill sessions, and they were super helpful. During my exam, I could remember his voice talking about those, bacteria and stuff. So that was very helpful. That's something else to look at. I'll put the link to his channel down below. Another thing that was super helpful was Dirty Medicine. The biochem series of Dirty Medicine is golden. If you haven't studied it, I'll say take out the time to do it. It's 30 videos, short and sweet, straight to the point. It's super, super helpful. So take a look at that. Another thing was Dirty Medicine Pharmacology. If you struggle with pharm, I'll advise you to go take a look at that as well. Other things that I did during my study, I was just very consistent with getting up, going to the library every day. Make sure you do questions. I know people have different styles. My style is I have to study and then do questions. Some people's style is I have to do questions and study. However you do it, just be consistent. Make sure you put in the work, because at the end of the day, the work counts. You have to put in the work, you have to put in the effort. But Dirty Medicine was helpful. USMLE guys was helpful. Mailman arrows were helpful as well. I would advise to do that with a study partner, so you actually talk about it. That way you're getting a really good understanding of what you're doing. I did it with a study partner. It was super helpful. Now, another thing, when you're ready for your exam or you feel like you're getting there, make sure you schedule your free 120 at a testing center. That helps a lot. It helps take out the stress of going to a testing center for the very first time and having to take an exam. When you schedule your free 120 at the same center where you're going to take your exam, it helps you. You know how the environment is. You know if it's too hot or too cold in there, so you know whether to bring a sweater. You know where the bathroom is. So on the day of your exam, if you have to go to the bathroom, you've been there before. You can estimate how much time it will take you to get there. It just helps you get acquainted with the environment, and that takes away a little bit of the stress of that day of the exam. So make sure to schedule your USMLE free 120 at the testing center. The old free 120 I took at home, the new free 120 I took at the testing center. I would also advise to take the new free 120 1 week or so before the exam. That way you see where you're at. If you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be, you can cancel. And if you cancel more than 7 days ahead of time, you only pay $100. So those are things that I did that were super helpful. If I think of anything else, I'll make another video about it. I hope this helps you. I know a lot of people ask questions about studying for this USMLE, and even doing it while pregnant is more challenging. But if I did it, you can do it. All right, watch out for the next video. Thank you, and subscribe.